It's that time of year again. Novablast time. Good morning, YouTube. What's up, everybody? Hope you're safe and healthy and happy and doing okay. I really like this time of year, and that is because ASICS comes out with a new version of one of their very popular shoes, and that is the Novablast. Last year, they hit us with the Novablast 4, and after not really liking the 3, I was very pleasantly surprised with the 4. This made it onto my best shoes of 2023 list, and I liked it so much because I thought it was versatile. I thought the midsole felt better than the previous model. I liked the upper, and it was a great shoe, all things considered. I did have a couple gripes with it. I was getting a little bit of heel slipping with this material, and I wish that the midsole foam was a little more evenly distributed. Like, we got a lot in the trunk of this shoe, a lot of junk in the trunk, but we didn't have as much, I felt, in the forefoot, so more evenly distributed was something that I wished for. Well, fast forward 365 days. Well, I don't actually know if that's the amount of time it really was. Fast forward to this year, and we are hit with the Novablast 5. Before we get to talking about the ASICS Novablast 5, I want to ask that if you're not subscribed to this channel, if you could please go and do so. I'm trying to get to, I don't know the number, but I'm trying to rank up that follower count as much as possible. And I know a lot of you watch the videos but aren't subscribed, so any subscription helps. And if you're looking for a little more running shoe content and just content from me in general, then I suggest going and following me on Instagram at RunLikeKeller as well, where you can get a little more of all that good stuff. Back to the blast. I have at least 20 miles in the Novablast 5. I think actually more than that. But either way, I have a pretty good idea of what this shoe is capable of, what it's like. And we're going to talk about today whether or not this shoe is better than the previous model, if they fix some of the things that I wished were fixed in the 4, and all that good stuff. So before we get into all that, you gotta watch the run footage, where I'll also have the specs. One more thing before we get started, I do want to let you know that this shoe was sent to me by ASICS. However, they're not going to see this video before you. They can't tell me what to say, and all of my opinions are always my own. As always, let's start with the upper of the Novablast 5. Right off the bat, you get an update here. The previous model was an engineered woven upper. Here in the Novablast 5, they're hitting us with an engineered jacquard mesh. ASICS is saying this material is lighter, it's more breathable, and more comfortable than that woven material in the previous model. And if you go to the midfoot, not a whole ton in terms of overlays. However, the back heel counter is pretty sturdy. There is a pretty noticeable difference between these two materials from just your sight alone. So as you can see here and here, the Novablast 4 material feels a lot stiffer. It feels more coarse, and I guess the way I would describe the Novablast 5 in comparison is looser, softer, just a more flexible, accommodating material. The laces are standard, they're flat, they stayed tied. The tongue is thin, little padding, and it is gusseted, although the gusset is kind of low, but it's there. And we have a nice amount of cushioning around the ankle collar. I will say I do think that this material is a little more breathable than that woven upper that was on the Novablast 4. But what I will say is that I have a narrow foot, and I feel like there's a lot of material here that makes the fit a bit loose for me. I have to really cinch down the laces in this shoe to get a proper fit across that midfoot. and I am still feeling that heel slipping sensation that I felt in the Novablast 4. It's not a deal breaker. It's not anything that would cause me to not want to wear this shoe, but it is something that I noticed and something I felt I needed to point out. Now, if you have a foot that's maybe more average or even wider feeling, then you might feel more at home here in this upper. But for me, it took a little cinching and figuring out before I got like the proper fit. And I also noticed that the thinner sock that I wear, the more issues I had. Today I wore a little bit of a thicker sock and felt these things less, but I still did feel them a bit. But besides that, like I said earlier, I do really like this material that they're using. I think it's comfortable on the top of my foot. I had no hot spots, blisters, or irritation in the Novablast 5's upper. So all things considered, I think they did a decent job improving this. I just wish that the fit was a little better for my foot. And I don't know about you guys, I actually kind of like this colorway. I know it's getting mixed reviews, not everybody's digging it, but I actually kind of am, which is shocking because I don't normally like pink and purple together, but I think they executed it nicely here. All right, so let's move on down to the midsole. Another big change. We're going from FF Blast Plus Eco that was in the Novablast 4 to FF Blast Max, which is in the Novablast 5. ASICS says FF Blast Max is supposed to be lighter and more responsive than the FF Blast Plus Eco material. You got a full slab of it here, and there's no bells and whistles, no plates or anything, just the foam. I like the FF Blast Max Plus, ugh, that's not the right name. I like the FF Blast Max foam better than this FF Blast Plus Eco. My God, these names. Just to the touch, just squeezing them, the Novablast 5 feels softer, and I just generally tend to gravitate more towards the softer shoes. And ASICS is right. This shoe is also lighter than its predecessor. Only by a little bit. You'd probably never feel it, but it's lighter. I quite like the way this shoe feels, that softer sensation when your foot presses down on that foam. And it's decently responsive. I don't think that the response in the Novablast 5 is going to knock your socks off. I don't know that it really did in the Novablast 4 either. I think it's there. It's helpful. You're not going to feel like you're sinking down into the shoe with no life to bring it back up. I also do feel like the Novablast 5's midsole is more evenly distributed. I know, like I said earlier, I had that issue with the Novablast 4 where I felt like there was so much foam in this heel and not enough in the forefoot, and I feel plenty of foam in the forefoot. I don't know if that's because of the change of foams that they used or what, but it just feels better in my opinion, and you still got tons of that foam in the heel. When taking the Novablast 5 out on your easier paced runs, you're just everyday daily training miles, the shoe feels really nice and protective. Again, soft with that little bit of response. It's kind of like the perfect formula for those sorts of runs. And then after my run was kind of over today, I did pick up the pace a little bit in that last mile to see how it would do, and it did pretty well. I think if you have a run with a little workout sprinkled in there, the Novablast 5 will be able to handle it. Now, because the Novablast 5 does feel softer to me, I don't know if some of you will like that. Maybe you liked that the Novablast 4 was a touch firmer just so you could take it out on more, tempo day workout type runs. I think that the Novablast 5 definitely falls into more of that just like standard daily trainer category. No doubt the Novablast 5 can handle a marathon training cycle, 20 plus miles, the marathon itself, and anything above or below, I think it'll do pretty well with. And lastly, I don't know how much you guys care about this kind of thing, but the Novablast 5, according to ASICS, has a lower carbon footprint than the industry average. So I guess they're trying to be more sustainable, and I can appreciate that from a shoe company. For what I like in a shoe, I do think that this midsole is improved. I think if I had to make one nitpick about it, I wish that it had a little more roll off the toe, some sort of rocker, if you will, but either way, it's still a great ride, and thumbs up to ASICS because I think it's better. Turning the Novablast 5 over, you have the AHAR Low rubber. It's the exact same rubber that you had in the Novablast 4. The patterns are different, but it's generally the same placing. I think this outsole is pretty good. I haven't had any issues with it. It's been very dry here in the Northeast, so I haven't really been able to take this shoe out on wetter conditions. But so far so good. I don't really have any problems, and it's not wearing down after over 20 miles at all, it seems, so can't complain about too much. The Novablast 5 will be available on December 1st for $139.95 on runningwarehouse.com. So $140 for this shoe I think is totally worth it. You're getting the bang for your buck. It's gonna last a long time, feels great, and yeah, I can't recommend it enough, especially at that price point. If you're interested in picking up a pair of the Novablast 5, I will put links in the description of this video. You can click those and pick up your own pair. Just keep in mind those are going to be affiliate links with Running Warehouse. Doesn't mean much for you. It just helps out my channel so I can keep making these videos. I'm hopeful with the Novablast 6 next year that maybe they'd keep this midsole foam but just tune up this upper ever so slightly. Then it would make it, I mean, an A++. What do you all think of the Novablast 5? Are you eager to try it? Are you going to pick up your own pair? Are you going to skip it? And what do you think about this colorway? I gotta know. Let me know in the comments down below. I love to hear what you guys have to say. Well, everyone, that concludes this video on the ASICS Novablast 5. If you enjoyed it, please like it down below and subscribe. And when you're done with all that, hit the notifications bell so you can find out every time I upload a new video. I mean, shoes are all about looks, right? What look? What look do you like better? I have another video for you next week, but in the meantime, get out there, get on the grind, and do not forget to run like heller. See you next time. Zing,